Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I want to give a quick little update here on where we are year to date in San Joaquin Hills and really discuss in a much more practical level this phrase affordability and how it's having a dramatic effect on housing, not just in San Joaquin Hills, but Laguna Niguel and really across the county and state. Let's start quickly with where we stand right now in San Joaquin Hills, just for purposes of how the market's been within the community. We're at 14 closed escrows year to date, and we have 4 currently on the market. You compare that to in the recent years when the market was hot, let's just say, we would normally be at about 35 closed sales and finish off about 55 for the year. Probably finish off for about 18 this year. So that's a dramatic um, drop off of number of home sales. Now, we have been talking about low inventory for quite some time. That's been putting a lot of pressure on pricing upward. Well, we're seeing signs of a shift for the last 18 months. Again, specifically for the community, we are still in a very low inventory market here with just 4 homes for sale. We have seen over this year longer days on the market with the homes that have come on the market and sold. We've seen price adjustments every 36 days on homeowners reducing their price to get the property sold. And when we get in a position where low supply, low inventory does not drive a demand, that's a true sign of a shift in market. So that's something we got to discuss. Now, the big issue we talk about again is affordability, but it really gets just overlooked. What exactly does that mean other than you can't afford today's housing prices? Well, since the 50s post-war, the average annual income to buy a home, you usually bought about 2.5 times more than what your annual income was. That was the entire 50s and right about the early 60s. Since the 70s, though, we were roughly climbing up inflation, the economy, to about 3 to 3.5, 3.2. And that's been going strong since the 90s. But with this last 5 year run up we had, right about 2020, it was an unrealistic, unsustainable run up. And we have gotten to values now where we are about almost 8 times, in some cases, roughly about 5 to 6 of income ratios, meaning you make $200,000 a year, and now it takes about $1.6 million, $1.5 million just to get an entry level here in Laguna Niguel. That is 100% unsustainable, and it has really caused housing to have moved away so far from household incomes that this is what's quote unquote frozen the market. Now, what's going to change this? Well, again, people put a lot of emphasis on lower interest rates. Of course, the lower interest rates, if they go down to 5.8, that'd be fantastic. However, it's not going to move the needle, as they say. In addition to that, what we've seen very clearly in the last 18 months is many people are taking the let's just wait and see. It's pretty easy to wait, a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, until you see what happens in the economy and see if it makes sense for you to move. Most people don't move because of the economy. They move because, the forces of life just change, death in a family, divorces, financial changes, retirement, empty nestings. Uh, People need and desire to move, and sometimes they get to the point where we got to move. So, what I've told people for the last 38 years of doing this business is you can never control the market, but you always can control your strategy. So, what I have found here in the last 18 months, I have done more discovery meetings, and that's very, very important. And that is when you realize that, we're moving, we don't want to wait anymore. What's the best course of action? Well, you start out with what's your purpose. When we really define your purpose and what you're trying to accomplish, put some logistics to it and a specific agenda, and what are the next steps in order to accomplish that. About 9 out of 10 times by the time I have a discovery meeting with people, they've made a decision to move because they don't want to wait anymore. About 10% of the time I say, you may want to wait until these things are in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish. But either way, the purpose of this video today is if you find yourself coming up with a life change in the next 12 months, I would love to sit down, have a discovery meeting, truly identify what your purpose is. Because, again, we can never control the market, but we can definitely control your strategy. And I'd like to put one together for you, see if it makes sense here. Well, until we meet, you take care.